Hey guys, it's Alex with Hammond Watch. Here today with the SRPD21. Big thanks goes out to Jewelry Works yet again, my local Seiko authorized dealer here in Gainesville, Florida. Been friendly enough to lend in a bunch of watches to the channel for us to have a closer look at. And this had been a watch that I'm a big turtle fan. I like a lot of the different versions that had come out on the front end. So we did the green edition. There was a Ninja Turtle where it was all PVD and blacked out, which I was a big fan of. And now we've gotten into these Save the Oceans. And while I like the concept of the Save the Ocean watch and the concept of a wave dial, I just don't think that Seiko's gotten it quite right in their last few attempts. There have been upgrades to the watch. If you guys aren't familiar, it's a 45 millimeter case. But in measuring kind of lug hole to lug hole, because you do have drilled lug holes, it's right around 43 millimeters, so it wears really small across the wrist for a 45 millimeter watch. Additionally, the sides flare out, and it gives it a bit more of a secure feel on wrist as opposed to the SKX, at least in my opinion, which feels a little top heavy and wobbly. I think this spreads the weight around a little better. Kind of a typical bracelet from Seiko, except you do get solid end links. It's a pressed clasp, nothing special. It's not the worst I felt. I don't wear it. I think especially with a lot of these Seiko dive watches, they're heavy and big and get a little bit clumsy on their bracelets. So I typically go rubber, much like you'll see today, actually wearing my turtle. But the improvements that they've made, and it's the same old 4R movement, so hacking, hand winding. You have a better crown. It's a little bit more pronounced. They've played with some of the finishing and giving you a little bit of a kind of a radial sunburst with a more pronounced kind of polished extension on it. The biggest improvement by far is the bezel. The texturing, I guess, around the bezel is executed better. You feel like you get a firmer grip, and then they've altered it and it just feels smoother. It just feels more refined than an SKX or even my old turtle. Just smooth to the touch, snaps right around, and lucky enough, this particular model is pretty well aligned. The other major step up with the bezel is the quality of the insert. It now has kind of a radial cut pattern through it. The markers are all carved out and filled with paint, as is the triangle, and your pip is a little bit more defined, covered in hardlex, and all in all, it just has a much more premium look. It's actually one of my favorite things about the watch, and I think its best upgrade and feature. I'm hoping that these bezels and bezel inserts make it onto more of the kind of base color schemes. So what makes the Save the Oceans is their wave dials. They've done a couple of different iterations. One was a printing that kind of faded down to from blue to black. This new wave pattern, honestly, in person, just it doesn't do it for me. And I don't want to sound too old man, get off my lawn about this, but the favorite part of my SRP775, which is the Gilt Goddess version of the turtle, is that the prospex logo completely disappears. The print on the flat black dial, you can hardly see it. On this, it's much more pronounced. I don't like the wave pattern. I don't want to say I guess young is the best way I would put it. It comes off just a little bit childish, a little cartoony to me. I completely understand kind of what they were going for, but once you add in a shark fin with a little cut out of it or a little notch out of the fin, I feel like it gets just a little bit kitschy. Now, if you like it and you're just going to have fun with it and you're not taking yourself or it too seriously, God, by all means, this is just an opinion of mine. I've just ended up with a few watches that have these very fun kind of dials, and I end up moving away from them. And I think that there's kind of a proper way to do it. So what I think Omega gets really right about the wave dials that they've produced and kind of the different texture dials is that they keep it very, very uniform. You know, it's fun because it's a wave pattern, but it can be taken seriously. It's just meant to show its inspiration, which is coming from the ocean. Even the new versions, very clean and concise. It's a style choice. It's not a cartoon. The Aquaterra is the same. I wanted to show this one because they actually have variance between how big each kind of stripe across is. It's meant to be kind of boat deck-esque. I think it looks fantastic. Still fun and playing with the different sizes and textures. But when Seiko brings out their wave dials, they just tend to go too far. You know, I'm a big fan of the solar tunas, the SNEs here. But as you can see, it's got so much going on. There's just a different level of sophistication, obviously a different level of price. But Seiko puts out some glorious presage dials. So I think Seiko could do a really good job with these wave dial dive watches. I mean, they've got the dive watch lineup and they have fantastic dial execution on so many of their pieces. I just feel like they need to reel it in a little bit. Make the pattern a little more uniform. I don't even mind the kind of sharper peaks of the waves as opposed to what Omega's done, kind of giving them their own identity and going into some of that kind of Japanese artwork. This color, how it pops, phenomenal. It's just, you know, I don't want a shark fin or a fin on my seconds hand. I see too many mods like that, and they don't do it for me. If you guys have enjoyed the content, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed already, I'm going to put a button right here where you can do it. We're going to fade out on a loom shot because that's always fun with any Seiko. But I'm going to put a couple other videos up for you guys. Have a look. Let us know what you like, what you don't, what you want to see. See you in the next one.